Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. My name is Nicole Anderson. I'm the Senior Associate Director of Tufts Alumni Career Services. And while we're waiting for folks to log on, I'm asking everyone to type into the chat box where you are right now geographically and one word to describe how you are feeling about the webinar today. Want to let you all know that we are recording this webinar and it will be available after today on our YouTube channel, and I'll throw that link to our YouTube channel into the chat. All right, we shall start. Welcome to our webinar today, Time Mastery, Unlock Your Flow and Potential with Arielle Alonso. Our goals in Tufts Alumni Career Services are to offer programs like this virtually, but also to go to where you are geographically. So we have networking events and industry panels, and we serve alumni from all schools. So please check the Alumni and Friends calendar to see what's going on both virtually and near you. I'll put that link into the chat as well. Our second goal is to foster connections between alumni and students. And alumni you can actually check out your own school's career center on the link that I will drop into the website. Each school has their own career center. So now for today's webinar, we'll be presenting about 50 minutes and we'll try our best to address your questions during the session. And I'd like you to put those into the chat box. So we'll try to, address during, but also we'll take questions at the end. As I mentioned at the beginning, we are recording this webinar so that it will be posted to the Alumni Career Services YouTube playlist. And finally, before I introduce our speaker, I want to acknowledge the Office of Alumni Engagement's community value statement. So our mission invokes an environment of mutual respect, free expression, and inquiry. Program participants accept these principles when they join this community. In doing so, they agreed to abide by the following community values. So number one is respect for the rights, differences, experiences, and dignity of others. Number two is expressing our viewpoints in a thoughtful and respectful manner. Number three, honesty and integrity in working with all members of the community. And last, accountability for personal behavior. So let me introduce our presenter today. Arielle Alonso is an executive coach and owner of Revel&Awe, a coaching and consulting company focused on empowering individuals and organizations to fulfill their potential. Arielle is a former management consultant with experience across industries such as financial services, education, technology, and telecommunications. She transitioned to coaching in 2018 and is a certified professional coach specializing in helping her clients build confidence, develop their communication and leadership skills, and carve out fulfilling career paths. So now I'll hand the presentation over.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. It's always great to see fellow members of the Tufts community. And today we're going to be talking about time management. I saw a couple of comments in the chat already that they're hoping that this will be an illuminating conversation. I sure hope it will be. And at the very worst case scenario, I'm more than happy to answer questions throughout. I'll try and pepper them in, but also we'll have dedicated Q&A time at the end in case I didn't answer something. I like to think that this is a semi-casual environment, so I really welcome the engagement, the participation. Feel free to let me know what you think along the way, comment, like I said, ask questions, and hopefully there's something that you can take away from today's session that you want to pop on a Post-it or in a notes app or something that you'll want to remember and come back to later on. So as Nicole mentioned, my name is Arielle Alonso. I'm an executive coach, fellow Tufts alum, and my focus really is in helping organizations develop, retain and really empower their employees. And I do that through primarily coaching, but also through consulting, helping them figure out what are the best cultural developmental tools that they can enhance into their organizations to really build a really empowered workforce. And along the way, I like to help make sure that people are really feeling empowered in their own careers and able to feel like their jobs are sustainable and overall improve their quality of life. And a big part of that is time management. I get a lot of time management questions from clients along the way. So today we're really going to dive into what time management looks like and the idea of flow. Then we're going to learn some strategies, some of my favorite strategies and tools for effective time management. And then we're going to think about ways to embrace flow in our daily life. So first and foremost, I like to think that time is a funny thing, right? We've heard some of these age-old adages probably at some point in our lives, right? So time is money, time heals all wounds, time flies when you're having fun, there's no time like the present, every second counts, right? We have all of these interesting phrases and wisdom around time. And some of these things overlap. But the thing that also sticks out for me is that they also feel like different flavors of what time really means. And that's really a stark reminder for me that time stretches and contracts in our mind, sometimes feeling really infinite in moments of joy or fleeting or scarce when deadlines are looming. And that really illustrates our complex psychological dance with the clock and with our calendar. Now, that really brings home this idea of flow to me. So we're going to dive into that. And if you've heard of flow and if you have opinions about it, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'm always curious to hear what people know, what they don't know. Flow is defined as a state of mind in which a person becomes fully immersed in an activity. And this is a concept that was popularized by psychologist, I'm going to butcher his name, I'm so sorry, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. If you are Hungarian, please feel free to correct my butchering of that name. And he refers to this in his book, Flow, in this idea of engagement, full engagement in an activity where time just passes by unnoticed. You're at peak productivity, peak creativity. You're really in almost like an alternate state of mind. Who here has felt this feeling? If you have, drop a yes or a one or an emoji into the chat. It's kind of a rare thing that people can tap into. Um, and yes, a lot of people have felt flow. I sometimes feel flow. I admit I don't always tap into it. I find oftentimes my clients that have ADHD tend to be able to tap into flow really easily when they're doing a high dopamine activity, when they're feeling really activated and inspired by what they're doing. Maybe that resonates for you as well, whether or not you have ADHD, but that feeling of being totally immersed and productive and like it's just coming out of you, that's flow. And flow has a lot of benefits. It really enhances performance, it increases learning and skill development, it improves our creativity. We feel greater enjoyment and satisfaction in our work and in what we're doing. And we have lower anxiety and self-doubt when we're in flow. There's a feeling that like we know what we're doing. This competence really helps to reduce that self-doubt and also builds this intrinsic motivation, that feeling of we're doing this because we want to and not because there's maybe some external reward to it, even though there might also be that external reward. Now, this sounds great, right? Everybody wants to be in flow, to feel like their productivity is just on a roll. But there are a lot of barriers actually to achieving flow. That can look like distractions or interruptions, trying to multitask, not being clear about what your goals actually are. And that can be really challenging when what you're trying to achieve doesn't really have clear steps. We're going to talk about that a little bit later also. Some of the other barriers include an inadequate challenge. So if a task is too easy, it might be boring. But if it's too hard, it can cause anxiety. And flow really occurs in that balance between skill level and challenge level, where the task is engaging enough to be stimulating, but not so overwhelming. Lack of interest also keeps us from achieving flow. And as I mentioned, for people who do have ADHD or who are able to easily tap into flow, maybe if you're not interested, you might find that trying to get into it, not that easy, right? Personal engagement and passion are key drivers for flow. Another big one that maybe you all can resonate with is fear of failure. If we have a sense that we might not meet the expectations or we might have consequences for failing, that can inhibit risk-taking, creativity, and those are things that are really critical components for flow. If we're in an environment or a personal state that doesn't support us, that can also be a significant factor. That can be anything as tangible as a messy desk to something more intangible, like having a really critical inner dialogue. And the last couple of things are all around feedback, right? If we don't receive feedback on our progress, whether that is built-in feedback, right? Like we're meeting milestones, or external feedback, like, oh, you're on track, or this needs adjustment, that can also make it difficult to stay motivated and to understand the direction that you're trying to take the task. So all of these things can be really challenging barriers to achieving flow. In order to foster that flow, it's important to address those barriers by creating conducive environments, setting clear goals, and really ensuring that the tasks that you're working on are appropriately challenging. Which brings me to some strategies that I like. And a big part of achieving flow or even getting close to it is managing our time effectively so that we can be really clear about what needs to get done and focus on those things so that we can execute effectively. I'm going to share 3 of my favorite strategies and tools, and then we're going to deep dive into one of them. I'm going to just take a second to read some of the questions that came up. Someone asked, is hyperfocus the same as flow? It certainly can feel that way. I actually don't know enough about how ADHD hyperfocus or hyperfocus in general, if there's a difference, but certainly it can feel the same, the feeling that time is just passing and you're really enveloped and engaged in that activity. And someone here made a comment, the problem with flow is that it has to be high dopamine. A high dopamine activity, tapping into flow might be easy for playing music with friends or working on a nonprofit, but close to impossible for money-making activities. That's a great point. So my response to that might be that there might be some mindset shifts that you can tap into to help money-making activities feel more enjoyable. I might also want to think through what activities are you trying to engage with, or what tasks do you feel like you need to do in order to move forward? Uh, Maybe we talk about that afterwards. I have thoughts running in the background. Okay, my first favorite time management tool is an oldie but a goodie. It is the to-do list. Now, you might think this is so basic. You would be surprised how many leaders I talk to in organizations who don't have a way to keep track of their tasks. So to-do lists are an oldie but a goodie. And there are a couple of different ways that you can use to-do lists. One is physically with a paper and pen. I have a notebook. I also keep a daily to-do list on a little sheet of paper. You can also go digital. There are great apps out there if you engage well with digital documentation, right? Whether that's Google Keep or a document somewhere or a notes app on your phone. These are all great ways to keep like a digital repository of your tasks. Project management software is also a great tool, and there's overlap between a to-do list and project management software, but sites or apps like Asana or Trello or Notion can also be great ways to identify goals, keep track of them, break them down, which is one of the biggest things that I encourage people to do when they're thinking about a project or even just something that seems to be overwhelming. Usually something is overwhelming because we don't have enough breakdown for it to feel manageable. And I'll just give a brief example, right? Putting together the content for this webinar, and I always like to be a little transparent. This was a very stressful thing, right? Putting together content makes me so stressed. I get so worried about whether or not people will like it. Does it look good? Will I remember what I want to say about every slide? I get a lot of anxiety around these things. As much as I enjoy them, they're also pretty stressful. What I do in order to make it feel a lot less overwhelming is I break it down into as micro steps as I can. I break it down into creating an outline and then filling out the outline. Then I like to put a high level order of slides together, and then I start filling it in. And as a final step, I create a little bit more of a script. I make sure that all of the boxes are aligned on the slide, really tap into my old consulting hats. And that helps it feel more manageable. So I don't have to do everything all at once. That is overwhelming. So if you find yourself often getting overwhelmed by some of the tasks on your plate, it might be because they're not broken down enough. So big believer in to-do lists. The next thing is prioritization. And this is where we break things down, right, and decide what are the most critical tasks to focus on. It also allows us to celebrate incremental progress. So as we are moving through our to-do list in the order of highest priority, we can start to feel like, oh, we're making progress. We're building momentum. We can move things along. And that's so helpful to just our self-esteem and our feeling of competence. Now, the third strategy that I always love recommending to people is zero-based calendar blocking. Now, there's a great blog. I'm going to find the link in a little bit, and I'm going to drop it into the chat, all about directions of how to do this. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but the idea behind zero-based blocking is that you fill every block on your calendar, including meetings, tasks, free time, anything and everything. And one of the reasons why I love zero-based blocking is because it gives you permission for free time, right? You don't have to feel guilty about taking your lunch break or signing off at 5 o'clock if you need to, because everything is accounted for in your day. The other reason why I like zero-based blocking is because it helps us figure out and learn how long things actually take us so that we can block appropriate amounts of time for things. What I hear over and over again from people is, I blocked 2 hours or 4 hours in my afternoon to work on this project, and I procrastinated for the first 3 hours and 30 minutes, and the last 30 minutes, I didn't get anything. I barely made progress. And that happens for two big primary reasons. One is we are terrible, humans are terrible at assessing how long things should actually take us to do. Partly because every person will have a different experience of how long different tasks take. And the second reason is because we are really good procrastinators. So we might feel like something will take us 4 hours, but it might actually only take us 45 minutes. When we've done it in the past, it might have taken us 4 hours because we procrastinated a bit, or took breaks, or went down an Instagram rabbit hole, or ended up checking our emails and responding to things instead of focusing on the task at hand. So zero-based blocking allows us an opportunity to allocate appropriate amounts of time iteratively as we learn how long things actually take us, and put them on our calendar so we know there is a specialized place on the schedule for the things to get done. Great. I'm going to go into some of these questions in a little bit. Now, you might think I'm going to go into zero-based blocking, but I'm not. I'm going to go into prioritization. And this is something that I think people fail to do so frequently because we have a hard time figuring out what is important. And that's where the Eisenhower matrix comes out. And some of you might be familiar with this, so this might be a great reminder to revisit. And for those of you who have not ever seen this before, I'm going to introduce it now. The idea behind the Eisenhower matrix is that some things are more important than others, and some things are more urgent than others. And as we figure out what tasks we need to do, because we've written them all out on our amazing, lengthy to-do list, we can start figuring out what's urgent and what's important. And depending on how we plot them on this graph, we can then figure out what do we want to tackle first and what kind of gets put on the back burner. Now, depending on where things fall in this graph, we can kind of make generalized assumptions about what we can do with them. And I'm going to start in the lower left-hand quadrant. If it is not urgent and it is not important, eliminate it. Take it off your list. It doesn't need to take up space in your brain or on your to-do list if it is not something that is actually important. And this can be, big things, but it can also be little things, right? I need to charge my camera battery, right? But I'm not going on a trip for 3 weeks. Is it really that important? Is it really urgent? I can always use triple A's. I don't need to keep that on my plate. Or it can be a project, right? Maybe there's a project that you've been given or that you've tried to implement that you say doesn't have any immediate benefit. I don't know that it'll ever have any benefit. And there's no deadline. It's not important. It's not important to me. It's not important to my team. Why are you still thinking about it? Agree with your manager or with yourself that you can take it off the list, eliminate it. If something is important but not urgent, meaning it has value, it's a valuable activity, but there's no real deadline, you can schedule it for later. And if you're using zero-based blocking, you might already be able to carve out some time in a week or 2 weeks or 2 months to revisit this. So that is something that you can decide whether or not it's worth pushing down the calendar. And then we have those things that are urgent, but they are not important, right? And that might be something like charging the camera battery, right? Maybe I'm going on a trip next week, but do I need to be the one to do it? Is it most important for me to do? Probably not, right? I can delegate that out. So if you are working on a team or if you are running a business and there is something that is important there, that is urgent rather, and someone needs to do it, does it need to be you? Is it the most important thing for you to take on yourself? Or can someone else take that on for you? So that's all about delegation. And this is where I find oftentimes managers have a hard time releasing control of things. And I see someone nodding. Yep, hardcore. Releasing control is also really difficult. That is a topic for a future webinar, but really, really important to help clarify what are your priorities. And finally, we have the important and urgent quadrant, right? This is the stuff that you do now. This is the top of the to-do list, highest priority. You want to make sure that you get that done on time because it is important, it is valuable, and there's some sort of urgency, right? Whether that's a today deadline or a tomorrow deadline, even if it's a 3-month deadline, that might be your version of urgency. And so putting in the effort to move that forward is going to be really important and worth prioritizing. So this is the Eisenhower matrix, right? At high level, right? We went through it pretty quickly, but I love this tool because it really helps us figure out how to approach different topics, tasks, projects that are on our plate and figure out how we want to deal with them going forward. And that might look like removing it. It might look like getting support, might look like calendaring it for later, or it might just be putting your head down and getting it done now. Now, one of the barriers that we mentioned when we're trying to get into flow is staying focused and avoiding distractions. And this is something that I hear from, I would say, 99.9999% of my clients, and I've worked with thousands of people over the past 5-ish years. This is a constant, right? If you are working on a team, you might have Slack, you might have Teams, you definitely have email, you have text messages. If you have kids, they might be calling you 24/7. If you are partnered, they might be calling or texting and asking you questions. There is a constant flow of communication all the time. Those are very distracting. You've also got tasks that are distracting, right? Those things that we do to just fill in the cracks that are not high priority. They are not necessarily urgent or important, but it's just 30 seconds. It's just a quick, we're just going to fill it in. Those are distractions. So some of the things that I'm going to share now are ways that we can start to rethink our relationship to those distractions so that we can stay focused. And the first one is to know yourself, right? Know your preferences and your needs. This can be, what kind of environment helps you feel focused? Is it an uncluttered office environment? Is it putting in headphones? Is it closing out those 57 tabs in your internet browser? And yes, I am talking about myself, right? What are the things that are prone to distracting you? And how do you give yourself the gift of an environment that is conducive to productivity and focus, right? That might be reducing notifications, right? Go on do not disturb, protecting your time. These are all things that are important, right? The other piece about knowing yourself that oftentimes gets sidelined is what we need for our mental and emotional state. And that means, what are the things that get you in the zone? Is it some quiet time first thing in the morning? Is it taking a really lengthy lunch break so that you can decompress? Is it an afternoon nap? Is it having a mantra or some post-it note on your computer screen to remind you of how amazing you are, right? It might sound silly to some people, but that stuff actually matters, right? So what do you need to gift yourself in order to create a space? And I always, I'll always talk about myself first and foremost. I need like an hour in the morning with my first cup of coffee. Usually I'm doom scrolling on Instagram, but once that hour is done, I am ready to go. What do you need? How do you want to start your day? How do you want to work throughout your day? How do you want to end your day? The second piece here is, as I said, reducing the notifications, right? Put your phone on do not disturb, put your computer on do not disturb. The email will be there, the Slack will be there, the Teams messages will be there. When you are aware of what your I'll use the word flow, but your way of working is what you need to be productive, it will be much easier to set up time, whether those are short breaks during the day or more structured time, longer deep dive time to address those things, whether it's having a 5-minute top of the hour Slack check or a 30-minute email check, 2 or 3 times a day on your calendar. Group those things because the distractions will always be there. Those notifications will always be there. You might not be able to control when other people message you, but you can control when you respond to them. And believe me, if there is something urgent, they will find you, right? They will call your cell phone, they will call your house, they will come knocking on your office door if it is urgent. Which leads us into protecting your focus time, right? Like I said, I have clients that set up those 4-hour work blocks. I know I do that sometimes too. That might not be the work blocks that you need, right? Figuring out how long things actually take, scheduling them appropriately, that's going to be really helpful. But once you have focus time on your calendar, you protect that. I've heard so many times from people at every level of their organization, whether they are the CEO or senior management or even individual contributors who try to put focus time on their calendar, and people book meetings over it over and over and over again, right? And I see lots of nodding. This is real. That happens because you are not protecting your focus time, right? You are not saying this is important. This is not debatable. This is the time that I'm going to execute on my work, and I need to protect that time. And again, if there are things that come up that are urgent, of course you have a choice. But if people think that they can just book with you whenever you want, even when you have focus time blocked out on your calendar, they're going to keep doing it. Which leads us into the fourth thing, which is setting healthy boundaries, right? And we're not going to go too deeply into boundary setting today because that, again, is a focus for a future webinar. It's a whole thing. But I want to emphasize the importance of boundaries, not only to protect your time, but to also think about well-being, right? If you have that focus time, right, how can you set up you and your team, you and the people around you to protect your well-being? I like to think of boundaries a little bit as like an instruction manual to ourselves and to those other people around us for how to engage with us, to support us, and to really be able to create an environment where we're all getting what we need, right? The work will get done. It might not get done right now, and it might not get done on your terms. It might have to be done on my terms. And we can figure out some happy medium. But there are certain things that come up over and over again in the workplace that would really be addressed, I'll say, with some healthier boundaries, right? And one of those is protecting your focus time, right? And that might look like, and I'll just say this, and this I know I said I wasn't going to go into it, but I will. That might look like saying to your team members, hey, I saw you booked a meeting with me during a blocked off time, right? That's my focus time. I don't take meetings during my focus time. Can we find another time? Right? That's relatively straightforward. But that is a boundary, right? I protect my focus time. Let's find a time where I don't have dedicated work time. Okay, I'll move on. Which brings us then to back into embracing flow, right, in our daily life. And everything that we've been talking about, the to-do list and the time blocking and the prioritization, the protecting your focus time, knowing yourself, all of these things help us get more awareness of what we need in order to really thrive and feel like we have complete ownership over our work, over our time, over really our whole life. And because everyone knows your tasks don't end when you leave work, right? Then we've got all the home tasks that still need to get done. And really, I want to focus first on the conditions, right? What are the environmental things that we need in order to create that flow? The first thing is the outside, that environmental perspective. And then the other thing is the internal, right? I always go back to a messy office environment because that is one of the things that tends to be, not for everyone, but tends to be a big inhibitor for focus, productivity, and flow. And that is oftentimes, well, I generally find for my clients there's one of two reasons, right? One is a messy space tends to be indicative of a messy mind. Not always, again, I'll always put the caveat, not always, but tends to be. And the other is because it's distracting. When you have a lot of stuff on your desk, and to be totally transparent right now, I do, it is, it's creating visual stimuli that are distracting from the thing that we need to be focusing on, right? Oh, there's a half empty coffee mug. I need to take that to the sink. Or, oh, my pens are disorganized. Or I've got books that I haven't put away yet. Or, oh, I have 17 Post-its that I need to organize. I'm a big Post-it user, so that tends to be my distraction, right? So the more we can create an environment for focus that is free of those distractions, the higher the likelihood that we can focus on the thing that really matters. Now, that might be your desk, that might be your whole office space, that might be your desktop. Do you have 70 million different desktop icons? Do you have a ton of windows open? All of those things, right? Digital, physical clutter. What are the environmental factors that you want, that you need in order to optimize your environment? And the other thing I'll say here is I've had clients go and do like total overhauls of their office spaces, right? Put up art, paint the walls, change the lighting. You don't always have to go that big, right? Although eventually you might as you get to know yourself better, but it might be as easy as just starting with cleaning off your desk, right? Or like dusting as a start. Start small, right? Make the to-do list manageable. The inner monologue is sometimes a little bit more challenging, right? It's a lot easier to put things in piles on our desk. It's a little bit harder to relieve, maybe decades of internal monologue and anxieties. I totally understand that. And the reason why our internal monologue and our internal well-being is so important for productivity is because we need to know that we can trust ourselves, that we are capable in order to enter into that flow state. If we don't think we can do it, it's going to be an uphill climb the whole way. If we believe that we are capable, that we are competent, that we can figure it out, we are much more likely to be able to give ourselves momentum. So whether you practice meditation or mindfulness, or you put that mantra on your post-it on your screen, all of these things help us enter into a space of trust and um just like the ability to figure it out. I always go back to that, right? Do you believe that you can figure it out? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, amazing, go figure it out. If the answer is no, that means that there is something in the way. And then we need to figure out what that is. The other piece that I will say, and this might be, I don't know, maybe a little obvious, but like the idea that you can take a moment before you start the thing to prepare yourself for it, that is really novel for a lot of people, right? And again, I'll go back to myself. I am not a big runner, but I went and I ran a 4-mile race on Sunday, and I did not think I can do it. And did I train for it? Absolutely not. Was I prepared for it? Absolutely not. But that moment when you're walking up to the starting line of like, there's energy building, right? And the preparation of putting yourself in that mindset and saying, I can do this, that moment unlocks so much. It unlocked a lot for me, but you also have the option before you start anything, whether it's a small task or a big project, to pause and say, I can do this, and then enter into that space. Small tweak can make a big difference. I also want to talk briefly about identifying your personal flow preferences, right? And this is something that I touched on already, but it's going to be different for everybody, right? You might not care if your desk is messy, but someone else might, right? So what gets you into that flow? Can you notice when you've been productive in the past, when you felt that momentum, what was it, about you, about your environment that got you there? Was it a time of day? Was it something about the environment? Were there particular activities that were really energizing and challenging and stimulating? Were you really interested in that? Did you have music on? What kind of music? What got you into the flow? And then what keeps you in it, right? Is that having focus time blocked on your calendar? Again, the interest in the topic? Is it having the momentum already built in? What are those things that keep you in the zone? Once you start identifying those personal preferences, you can start incorporating them into your day, into your week, right? If you know that you're super productive between the hours of 11 and 1 p.m., that might be your blocked off focus time on a daily basis, right? If you know that you are a night owl and you get a lot of work done at night and you really get into the zone, you might decide to start your day a little bit later so that you have that conserved energy to enter into your momentum, into your flow state later on in the evening. So figuring those things out, really helpful. Also going to throw in, are there certain foods, hydration, how are you fueling your mind, your body, your energy to go into those flow states? Okay, so really quickly, we've covered a lot of ground. I want to recap because there's a lot there. There's a lot there for me too. I feel like I've been talking for a long time and I want to answer some questions. So we started out by defining flow, right? That state of full immersion in the activity, feeling like there's a lot of momentum and productivity going through your veins. Then we talked about some of those strategies that I love for effective time management, right? Clarifying what you need to do with to-do lists, prioritization, the matrix, starting to maybe tap into that zero-based blocking and avoiding or reducing at the very least those distractions. And finally, we started to talk about, and again, this is like an evolving conversation, right? It's not a one and done kind of thing where you learn yourself once and then you're done. We're constantly changing and fluctuating, but we started to think about how we can better understand our preferences and then align your tasks priorities with those preferences. So do you have things that are high priority and maybe require more flow? Can you assign those tasks into those focus times where you know you're going to be in that flow state? And of course, adjusting, right? This is an iterative process. You're not going to necessarily figure it out perfectly the first time. It might also change over time. And so being flexible and adjusting as you learn more is really crucial to help you continuously be able to tap into what you need and enter into those flow states for productivity. Okay, any questions? And at this point, my email is on the slide, but I'll also drop it into the chat as well as my LinkedIn. Happy to also connect with everybody afterwards. But I am going to go through now and answer some questions if that's good. Nicole, you're nodding. Any questions, Nicole, that you saw that you think are high priority?
Let's see. The last one that came up is really good. Um, and now I think others are flowing in, but so Allie writes, I love the matrix idea, but what do you do when your manager or coworkers have different ideas of urgent or important, and there is a priorities conflict?
Yeah, that is a great question. So when you are dealing with other people and their priorities, right? Because you might have different ideas of where that thing lands on your matrix versus where it lands on theirs. I think it's important to also create more transparency around what else is on your plate. And one thing that I hear so often from people with managers is, and really everybody, managers also experience this, that people just don't know what you're working on. And your manager might think this is the only thing that's on your plate, or maybe it's this and one other project, or they have no idea. And so if you can give them more transparency, more visibility into what else is on your to-do list or your project management or what else is on your plate, they'll be able to share in the adjustment around what those priorities are. So if you think, let's say this project that your manager is saying priority one, you think it's priority three, you can say, well, these are the things that are currently in my top two. What can be deprioritized? Because you can't do everything all at once. So things need to be adjusted. And having that conversation, creating that visibility can help to start that conversation around how to move things around so that you can be equipped to focus on the highest priority things, both for you and for the team.
So
Okay.
we do have questions back to the beginning. Um, let's see. One of the early ones is, do you have suggestions for addressing time blindness?
Oh, yeah. So my biggest suggestion is the use of timers. Time blindness is something that happens for people oftentimes with neurodivergence, especially ADHD, where they get into the flow state and then they lose track of time and it's, 4 hours later. That is definitely a challenge. There is, ironically, it's like almost exactly what you want for your flow state, except for there are other things that still need to be done and other meetings and things on the calendar, and people still need you. So the challenge with time blindness is how to pull yourself out of it. The best advice I can give, the best recommendation I can give, and other people might disagree with me on this, is the use of timers. So set a timer for the maximum amount of time that you think that you can spend on this thing, before you need to either go into a meeting or move on to something else. Some external stimulus that can help to keep you in check.
Another question from earlier is what are strategies for holding yourself accountable to the time blocks? I'm not sure if you answered this one.
Okay, yeah. So accountability is generally a challenge for most people, I would say. The hmm, there are a couple of things that I would say. So one is the more clarity you have about the task that needs to get done and how long it will actually take, the more effective the time blocking gets. So, let's say you have to send an email and it's a relatively quick email and it's a reply. You don't even have to create the email from scratch. Oftentimes we might feel like, oh, that's a really big task, right? It's going to take me 20 minutes to respond to that email. It feels so big. It's really important. It's really urgent, but it's really big. And how often do we end up writing that email and it takes us about 3.5 minutes, including edits and double checking everybody on the to and CC and BCC list, right? It does not take as long as we think it takes. So one of the things that I find helps keep accountability is being accurate, number one, about how long things actually take, and being clear about what needs to get done in that time block, right? Almost like a mini to-do list for that section of your calendar. The other thing that sometimes happens is we set up something that we think is going to take, let's say, an hour or 30 minutes, and it actually requires more time, right? So we now have to move on to something else because we've already blocked the next section of our schedule. The suggestion I would give for accountability is to move on, right? Stick to the calendar, because what you just learned in kind of overflowing in that section of your calendar is that that thing takes longer than you thought it was going to take, and you were in a pretty productive space. So that is great momentum that you can take into a future block of time. It's also a great learning that similar tasks of that nature might take a little longer than you thought. And it also might be a sign that the task was too broad for that section. So it's worth moving on to the next thing so you can make sure that you're making progress on all of the things that are high priority for that day. And you might need to readjust maybe tomorrow's calendar or maybe add a little bit of time at the end of the day to finish whatever you were, kind of like wrap it up with a little bit of a bow. That's the best advice I can give on that. But certainly if you find that it's happening over and over again, you might also want to think about adjusting the blocks of time that you're setting up on your calendar.
So we have a lot of questions here. Here's an interesting one. My current challenge as a business owner is having my staff, mainly millennials, focus and manage their time to deliver against deadlines. How do I continue to instill the importance of delivering against our timelines that our customers are expecting us to deliver on? I understand this can be a huge ask as my company model is a hybrid schedule.
Yeah, that's it's there. My guess is there are a lot of factors coming into play. One might be, does everybody know what the deadlines are? Number one is their full transparency on what the deadlines are, what the calendar, what the timeline really needs to look like. Um, are those deadlines realistic for the people that you have in your staff? And generally, right, there are kind of three triangle points, and you can usually pick two. So there's time, there's quality, and there's resources. And resources is generally like cost. So the timeline might be reasonable, but perhaps you don't have enough people. Or if you have enough people, you might need to be sacrificing on quality. So figuring out kind of what setup you currently have, if the deadlines are reasonable, if you do have enough staff, that might mean that it's expensive because you're hiring enough people to do everything. But the big question, the other big question I would ask is, um, you know, what do they have on their plate that is making it difficult for them to meet those deadlines? Are they managing more things than they have to be? Are they maybe taking on lower priority work that they're putting above the high urgency work? And do you have visibility into what their areas of focuses are or what their challenges are? Usually, if a timeline is reasonable and everyone is aware of it, but people are struggling to meet it, that means that there's some other challenge, some other obstacle that's coming up, whether that's, not having the appropriate technology, not having enough information, maybe not having enough interface with those clients. More needs to happen. My guess is there's some other obstacle coming about besides, you know, maybe a generational difference or something like that. And certainly, this is not impacted by being completely remote or hybrid or completely in person. This is a kind of location agnostic challenge. I would say there's an opportunity here to get a lot more transparency in both directions about what those expectations are from you, what success should look like in order to meet those customer expectations, and also from them to understand what's coming up for them, where are the challenge spots, where are the opportunities to make that process smoother and more effective and more efficient so that you can meet those customer expectations together.
Okay, next one. How do you manage energy outside of work?
Oh boy. That's a good question. I would want to know more. Like, are you feeling exhausted outside of work, and so you don't have enough energy for the rest of like your life needs? Like what's coming up that energy is challenging to manage. And the big piece I would say is find things that you enjoy outside of work that are energizing to you, right? Even if that means they're relaxing, whether it's things like yoga or going for a walk, spending time with friends, reading, watching Netflix, something that is energizing and activating for you. Um, Time management is not only about getting the work done, it's also about a little bit about energy management, right? How are you investing your energy and getting energy out of the things that you're working on? And we didn't talk about this today, but the one of the opportunities also in figuring out time and energy allocation is figuring out what are the activities that bring us energy versus what are the things that drain us. And when we are doing too many things in the course of the day that are highly draining, it'll be really hard to get activated for other things. And so identifying where your energy goes during the course of the day can be really helpful to also figure out where in your day do certain things need to go in order to manage your energy and your productivity effectively, but also what do you need to be doing to invest in your energy outside of work, whether that's before your workday starts or after the workday ends, in order to, replenish that tank and make sure that you're also taking care of yourself. Yeah, the temptation to be a potato is real. I totally feel that hardcore. And that might be something that is just enjoyable for you, and that's replenishing, and that's totally okay. There's no judgment there at all. Um, if it works for you, that's awesome. But if you're feeling like you're not happy with being a potato after work, then you have an option to change it and figure out maybe there's a different approach to replenishing those coffers for yourself.
All right, let's see. Next one. I use Eisenhower matrix, but can't figure out how to define urgency and importance for myself.
Mhm.
If it's deletable, it doesn't go on my list in the first place. And what if I can't delegate something?
Yeah, so that's that's a tough spot, right? And delegation, well, I'll start with delegation because that might be the easiest. Um, Delegation might not always be delegating it to somebody else, right? It might also be finding a way to automate it, right? One of the things that I sometimes hear from folks is, like, paying my bills is always such a, hassle and it takes so much space and so much time. And so one way to delegate that is to just automate it, right? If that's an option for you, can you automate your bill payments so it's something that you don't need to be thinking about all the time, right? Maybe you want to set aside time once a month to go back through your credit card statements and make sure that everything's accurate, but maybe that doesn't need to be a constant weight on you to remember to pay your credit card statements, right? So those are examples of delegation, right? Automation, whether that's an auto whatever feature or using a tool like Zapier that can take on some of that onus. Automation counts as delegation. The other part of that was if it's not important or urgent, it doesn't go on the list. That's great, right? My guess is um, you relieve a lot of stress proactively by not having those things on your list. A lot of people include a lot of things that could be deleted. But certainly, if you don't have those things, that's great. The issue I'm hearing is kind of like the definition of urgency and importance. And that might be different for everybody, right? Urgency could look like a deadline, right? If you need to submit something by Friday at midnight, then that urgency is clear. It might also be, and I would say more often than not, that's the way that urgency could be defined for most people is some sort of hard day. That's one of the ways that people, they're selling something and the sale is only until Saturday at 2:46 p.m. And so you have to buy the things before 2:46. That's a way to create urgency. So having an external deadline is one thing. You might also have an internal deadline, right? Maybe you need to submit it by Friday at midnight, but you want to have your final draft completed by Wednesday at midnight. So, that might build some urgency there. If you don't have deadlines, either internal or external, there probably isn't urgency, and you might be feeling a lot of anxiety because if there is no urgency, everything is urgent. If there's no order or sequencing, then everything is living in your head at the same time. And that can be really, really stressful. So if you don't have an external deadline or urgency, create an internal deadline or urgency to just help alleviate and create some sorting potential. Importance might also be, I would say, um, internal factors, external factors, both are important. Importance could look like, value that you're bringing. If you're a business owner, is this something that's going to bring in a lot of revenue, or is this something that's going to move my business forward? If you work on a team, you might still have those same considerations. Is this something that will move the team forward or not? And what is the impact, right? So maybe importance might not be the word that resonates for you. Maybe it's impact. What is the results going to be? How are the results of this effort going to be used? What is the impact that it has, the potential impact that it has? Maybe that resonates a little bit more. But you're allowed to define these things for yourself. Generally, I'd say urgency is pretty well dictated by deadline, and importance is, I would say, I like the value that it's going to bring, but you're certainly welcome to come up with the word or concept that works best for you.
So we're at time. We have a few more questions, but one question was, will the PowerPoint be available? And the presentation will be available on our YouTube channel, hopefully in a week. It does take a little bit of time. But I do think I want to thank Arielle for today. Thank you so much. This was a really great webinar.
Absolutely.
Obviously generated a lot of questions, which is great. I wish we had more time, but we don't because we're right at the hour. But thank you everyone for tuning in today. And you can look forward to Arielle presenting on other topics, soon to come. So you can check out the Alumni and Friends website. And I put that link in the chat as well. Any last thoughts, Arielle?
No, I really appreciate all of the very thoughtful questions. It seems like people are resonating also with each other's challenges. So thank you all for your engagement and being here. And please feel free to reach out with any other questions on LinkedIn or email me. Really happy to be a resource to the alumni community.
Thank you again, everyone. Have a nice day.